The forward of my documentary that we talk about my dad and his past and his background for when you get to understand.
So I know that the last chapter we left off at, we was basically talking about you getting abused by your uncle. Tell us more about that.
Well, my mom was a working mom, and she would leave me, with babysitters, and one of them happened to be a cousin of a cousin, it was myself and my two brothers, but I was the one that was getting abused, and, I really didn't think nothing of it, because a 6-year-old kid, you really don't know, but, I remember a time when he went after my brothers, my other brother, the middle child. And I can remember running to the kitchen and grabbing this knife, and I told myself, if you touch him, I would cut it off. And after that, he never, ever again, touched me or even attempted to touch my brother. And I told myself, if you do, because the thing was, he was really scare tactics, saying that one time I broke a lamp, and my mother was very, very hard on us, when it came down to discipline. And I was scared because I broke this lamp. He said he was going to tell I'm going to tell your mother. And I was like, please don't tell my mother I'll do anything or whatever, And that's how that started,
So what can we tell people that's watching this, how, if they were sexually abused when they was younger, or they going through something like this right now, how can they find help?
Yeah, but first you have to, like I said, I went to the community, but what happened was I started using the drugs because that, as I was growing up,
that was your escape.
That was my escape, and I was hiding the pain, so I had to need to talk about the pain that I was going through, and it all came into play, going to the rehab, talking about, once I got clean, talking about the problems, and, one thing, it just, things were just being uncovered about myself, I had a very, very bad temper, explosive, they call it impulsive behavior. I would explode on the top of the hat if something was not right or something went wrong, and that was part of the anger that I was stuffing my feelings. I never talked about what was going on. Now getting back to with my two boys that I was raising, my sons, because I raised them from the age that they were young. I was brought up basically in a hardcore environment. My mother, she was hard as nail. My uncle, back in those days, if you did something wrong, you got 3 beatings before you got home. I ran a strict household when I was, when we were raising the boys. And they used to get into everything. I'm not gonna lie, they used to get into everything. These boys would, especially Maurice, he was my favorite. And the reason for that was, I remember the father had came down to a birthday party, and I think it was like the 8th birthday. Louis was 8 years old, and Maurice came over to me and said, he's not my father, you're my father, and that kind of touched me, but I understood because his father never gave him that love, I remember one time he came from New York City and thought that he was going to beat my son, because he cursed at him. But what I did do was I said, hey, look, that's your father, respect him. Don't disrespect him, say you're sorry, and that's what I did. But for the most part, yeah, I was rough on him, and they say when you chastise, they say, they have an old saying, oh my goodness, I can't remember that saying, but it says something about sparing the rod. Spoil the child, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? You have to some degree, discipline your children. You know, I was facing, back in Baltimore, I was facing 25 years, man. You know, a decent job and everything, you know. And what happened was that Roy, he did something, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I know it had to do with something with school, but this kid has been messed. I think out of the whole school year, he went to school like 20 times or something like that, you know. So I went and I tore his behind up, you know. He went out the house butt naked. His uncle was there. His uncle was the one that told him, hey, just get out the house, you know. So here I am chasing this kid, you know, down a white neighborhood, because we lived in this white neighborhood. We were like the second black family in this neighborhood, which of course, you know, they terrorized all the little white girls that were there, you know. And that's another story, because these kids were very, very sexually active at a young age. And where they got it from, I don't know. I think it was probably generic. I don't know, because their dad, he was a whoremonger. You know, he went with this one, went with that one. You know, he used to disrespect the wife. I mean, their mother. You know, come by in the car to see the kids, but it was just like a, you know, hi, how you doing? It wasn't like here's some money for the kids. You know, go buy them something, whatever. He was never there to support. And I think that's what really like Maurice really hurt him, because he wasn't there. When I say support, I'm not even saying like money, but just be there, like saying, hey, you know, you're my son, you know, that hug. And I think that really hurt him, which it hurt him to the extent that, you know, he would get angry and lash out. You know, but now he's a grown man who has children, and he said that he would never be like his dad, and his son loves him to death. He's probably one of the, I take my hat off to him, because, you know, he reminds me of me, how I used to treat my kids.
Now, viewers are going to be watching this, right? Now, a hard-working mom like Sonia Johnson, have she ever collected any child support from this guy?
She tried to collect child support, but because a lack of education that this man had, his mother allowed him to drop out of school when he was like, I don't know, maybe the 5th grade or whatever. So he really couldn't hold a job that had any real skills. So he was basically a hustler. You know, he would hustle to sell cars. He was very good at his hands. You know, he can, you know, do mechanics work, but he never picked up a trade. So if you get into the system or whatever and try to collect child support from him, he wouldn't be there. Matter of fact, last time I heard, he collects welfare. You know. He never tried going back to school to try to get his education, so that's one of the reasons why he couldn't get the child support. But he made enough money to dress like if he was a pimp, you know. That kind of got me upset, because this man dressed nice. And I'm talking about slacks, you know, a $40 slack. And back in the day, $40 pair of slacks, that was money. So now the $40 pair of slacks will cost you now maybe about $120, maybe $1.40 for the shoes, and a little fedora or brim, whatever they want to call it. That was $60 off the rim. So he was always a good dresser, you know, always had flash money, you know, but he couldn't turn around and send like $20 or something like that, you know, for a child. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is documentary 4. Stay tuned. Documentary 5 is going to come out, and we're going to pick back up. It's another special guest on documentary 5. So stay tuned.